I'm going to use this video just to explain some of these terms: subroutine, global, local variables, parameters, procedures, and functions. So watch this. So firstly, a subroutine is just a self-contained piece of code that has an identifier and can be called from anywhere. So this is what we call a subroutine in Python. The identifier is output 1 to 10, and it's a bit of code that will output the numbers 1 to 10. But when I run it, nothing happens. So with a subroutine, we have to call it, just like you would call it using the identifier, like you would call someone's name. So now when I call it, it's going to run the piece of code. So this is the main program, output 1 to 10. When I call it, it executes this bit of code. If I spell it wrong, or if I do the wrong name of the subroutine, then it doesn't work. It doesn't recognize it. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then what we can do is when I call the subroutine, okay, I've called it, and then there's one variable that's inside the subroutine, this variable called count. So if I do print count, okay, what you'll notice is when I run the program, it runs the subroutine, but it doesn't recognize this thing called count, because count is what we call a local variable, which is a variable that can only be accessed within the subroutine. So to make it global, we have to use this function called global, and then I just say count. And now what this means is now it's globalized. This variable can be accessed outside the subroutine. There you go. So it's got the number 10, which is the final value of count.